Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're taking something really intense, the
Yeah.
poker table, right? High pressure, lots of strategy,
Yeah, a real mental battlefield.
and we're injecting it with something that sounds, well, almost the opposite. Mindfulness. Usually something you think about for like stress relief.
Exactly. It seems like a weird mix, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Serenity versus, calculated aggression. But actually, it's incredibly powerful.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, mindfulness, at its core, is
Yeah.
just the art of being fully present, paying attention.
Right.
And at the poker table, with all the noise, the ups and downs, the variance, being truly present. That's not just nice to have. It's a critical strategic tool.
How so?
It lets you spot those tiny tells, those betting patterns.
Yeah.
It helps you process information clearly, under pressure, and crucially, it helps you sidestep the emotional traps. The ones that just sink players.
Okay, so in this deep dive, we're going to really drill down. We want the specific techniques, right? How does mental focus turn into a real measurable edge at the table?
Yep. And the big mission here is figuring out how this internal stuff helps you handle the pressure.
Right.
Specifically, how it helps you beat the biggest bankroll killer in poker.
Tilt.
Tilt. Exactly. If you can keep your cool, manage your emotions, block out the noise, you stop reacting on impulse.
And you start making logical, cold, calculated decisions every time.
That's the goal.
We actually have a great example of this. There's this player, Alex, an online tournament regular, good player, but his profits kept getting wiped out by these emotional swings.
Happens all the time.
So one night, he takes this massive bad beat, just brutal, the kind where you want to throw your monitor out the window.
We've all been there.
And he feels it coming on, that familiar, like, red mist tilt. His first instinct is just, get it back now, chase the loss.
The classic tilt reaction.
But instead, he stops. He actually leans back from the screen, takes one conscious, deep breath, and forces himself to focus only on the very next hand, like the bad beat never happened.
A conscious reset.
Yeah. And that little moment, that pause, allowed him to play solid poker for the rest of the night. He didn't just win back what he lost on the bad beat. He finished the session way up.
That's it right there. That's that quiet power of just being present. That's what we want you to be able to tap into.
Okay, so before we get into the solutions, let's get really clear on the problem itself. We talk about tilt, but what is it exactly? And how is it different from just running bad? Because sometimes you just get unlucky.
That's a really important distinction. Running bad is variance, it's external. Tilt is internal. It's you working against yourself.
Okay.
Tilt is basically a state where your emotions, anger, frustration, maybe even overconfidence after a big win, completely derail your logical thinking. You abandon your best strategy.
So it's not just feeling annoyed, it's when the annoyance makes you play badly.
Precisely. Logic goes out the window, and raw emotion takes the driver's seat, making decisions based on how you feel, not what the situation actually dictates.
And the damage it does.
Yeah.
It's fast, right? When someone's tilting, the losses aren't just steady, they seem to snowball.
Oh, absolutely. Exponential is a good word for it. You mentioned deviating from strategy, but let's break down how that actually looks at the table.
Yeah. What are the specific ways it messes up your game?
Well, it tends to hit three main areas, and they all feed each other. First, there's a massive loss of focus.
Right. You can't think straight.
Your mind just gets stuck in a loop. You're replaying the bad beat, thinking about the injustice, instead of focusing on what's happening now. Pot odds, stack sizes, opponent tendencies, all that goes out the window.
And obviously, if you can't focus.
Then you get the second hit. Poor decision-making. Your calculations are off or non-existent.
So what kind of bad decisions are we talking about?
You see players making what they call revenge plays, chasing draws they know mathematically they shouldn't, making huge, reckless bluffs hoping to scare people off, or calling down light because they feel like the opponent has to be bluffing them again.
They're gambling, not playing poker.
Exactly. They've shifted from strategic player to, well, an adrenaline junkie looking for a quick fix.
Which leads straight to the third point, the one everyone feels the most.
The bankroll impact. Yeah. A single bad tilt session can genuinely wipe out weeks, sometimes months, of solid, disciplined play.
It doesn't matter how good you are technically if you can't control the tilt.
Not in the long run. Your results graph will just look like a chaotic mess. That emotional consistency, that control, that is the bedrock of long-term success in poker. It's absolutely essential.
And that consistency, that control, that's what mindfulness builds.
That's precisely the connection.
Okay, let's get into it then. We've established tilt as the enemy. How does this practice of mindfulness actually fight back against these really destructive, fast-acting emotional spirals?
It gives you practical tools, even physiological ones, to counter them. So one huge benefit is simply sustained focus for long sessions.
Right, poker isn't a sprint. Tournaments, cash games, they can go for hours and hours.
6, 8, 10 hours sometimes. Deep concentration is required. Mindfulness techniques, even just simple check-ins with yourself, actively fight off mental fatigue.
So you make fewer mistakes later on.
Exactly. You avoid those small, careless errors that creep in when you're tired and your brain just starts getting fuzzy. Those little mistakes add up fast.
Okay, focus is key. But what about that immediate reaction, that fire extinguisher moment, when you feel the tilt coming on? How does a mental technique stop what feels like a really physical, aggressive urge?
That's where emotional regulation comes in, and it is a direct intervention. Mindfulness trains you to notice the very first physical signs of an emotional trigger.
Like what?
That tightness in your chest, maybe your breathing gets shallow and fast, that sudden urge to just slam the raise button. Mindfulness helps you spot that feeling the second it starts.
And just noticing it helps.
Noticing it without judging it creates a tiny space, a gap between the trigger, the bad beat, and your usual automatic response to tilt.
Okay. A pause button.
Sort of.
Yeah.
And then specific techniques, especially breathing exercises like the 4-4-4 we'll talk about, actually have a physiological effect. They stimulate the vagus nerve, which activates your parasympathetic nervous system. That's your body's rest and digest system. It literally overrides the fight or flight response, the sympathetic system, which is what's driving the tilt.
Wow. So you're using your breath to physically calm your nervous system down.
You're literally using your breath to tell your brain, we're not in panic mode. It's physical control achieved through mental discipline.
That's incredibly powerful. And I guess that leads straight into the third big benefit, better thinking under fire.
Absolutely. Enhanced decision-making under pressure. When the stakes are high, anxiety tends to flood your system. It can paralyze your thinking or make you rush into bad decisions.
Yeah, brain freeze or just clicking buttons randomly.
All right. When you use mindfulness to lower that baseline anxiety, you free up cognitive bandwidth. Your brain can process all that complex information, odds, ranges, opponent behavior much faster and more accurately.
So you make better, more profitable moves even when the pressure's intense.
They're much more likely to spot the optimal line. Yeah.
Okay, this is great. Let's make it super practical. I'm there. Final table, maybe. Just took a nasty beat. Heart's pounding. I need something right now. What's the move? The quick fix.
The quick reset is your first line of defense. And the easiest, most effective tool is the 4-4-4 breathing method.
Okay, how does that work?
It's incredibly simple, and you can do it without anyone noticing. When you feel that heat rising, that impulse to lash out or play recklessly, stop. Just for a second. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4.
Okay, inhale 4.
And gently hold your breath for a count of 4.
Hold 4.
And then exhale slowly and fully through your mouth for a count of 4.
Exhale 4. So 4, 4, 4.
That's it. Just doing that cycle once or twice between hands can make a huge difference. It gets oxygen to your brain, but more importantly, it physically grounds you. It interrupts that fight or flight response before it translates into a bad click.
Okay, that's the emergency brake. What about building resilience before things go wrong, like preventative measures?
Absolutely. Pre-game rituals are huge. Don't just fire up the tables and jump straight into the action, especially if it's high stakes.
What kind of ritual?
Take just 3 to 5 minutes before you start playing. Sit quietly. Maybe focus just on the sensation of your breath. Or you could silently repeat a simple phrase like, calm and focused, or play my game.
Like setting your intention.
Exactly. It sets your emotional baseline low and steady before the inevitable stresses of the game start hitting you. Mental priming.
And then once you're actually playing, it becomes about observation, keeping your mind there.
Yes, shifting to mindful observation. This is crucial when you're not in a hand. Most players mentally check out when they fold. They scroll their phone, watch TV.
They're guilty.
A mindful player uses that downtime productively. Really watch your opponents. How long do they take to act? Do they glance at their chips before betting? What patterns do you see?
So you're anchoring your mind to the present by focusing externally.
Precisely. It stops your mind wandering off into replaying past hands or worrying about future outcomes. And then, if a bad beat does happen, you acknowledge the feeling, okay, that's frustrating. Take that 4-4-4 breath, and then consciously, physically shift your focus back to the next hand being dealt. Let the last one go.
It sounds like the approach needs to be slightly different depending on whether you're playing online or live, though. The environments are so different.
Oh, absolutely. Tailoring the techniques is key. For online poker, the big battle is against digital distraction.
Right. Endless tabs, notifications.
Your pre-game ritual must include closing everything unnecessary. Mute your phone, shut down social media, clean up your desktop. Even tiny interruptions can shatter your concentration online.
What else for online?
We strongly recommend forcing yourself to take short screen breaks every hour, maybe 90 minutes max. Get up, walk around, stretch, look away from the screen, reset your eyes and your mind.
Makes sense. And then for live poker, it's less about digital noise and more about people, the environment.
Exactly. The strategies shift. In live poker, a big part of it is maintaining table presence. You need to stay engaged mentally, even when you folded your hand 20 minutes ago.
Using that time to gather information.
Yes, and using your patience to read physical tells effectively. Look, anyone can see a guy shake when he bets big, but a mindful player notices that, notes it, observes if it correlates with strength and weakness over time. They don't just jump to conclusions based on one instance.
It's pattern recognition, not just reacting to a single twitch.
Exactly. And that 4-4-4 breathing becomes even more crucial live. It's a silent anchor you can use anytime you feel that social pressure, anxiety, or the beginnings of tilt rising because of table talk, or just the intensity of the room.
Okay, this is really practical, but I think some people hear mindfulness and worry it's going to make them, I don't know, too slow or too passive at the table. Are there ways this can go wrong?
That's a critical point, and yes, absolutely. Misapplying these techniques can actually hurt your game. Let's cover the main pitfalls.
Good idea. What's the first one?
The first big mistake is overthinking decisions. Mindfulness is about achieving clarity and focus, which should ideally lead to faster, more intuitive, correct decisions. It's not an excuse for analysis paralysis.
So you don't want to get lost in thought just because you feel calm.
No. Poker, especially online, often requires quick decisions. You can't use mindfulness as a reason to constantly time down while you contemplate every single possible line. The goal is flow, not stagnation.
Okay, avoid paralysis. What's next?
The second common mistake, and it often follows the first, is playing passively. A player confuses being emotionally calm with being generally risk-averse.
So they stop making the necessary aggressive plays.
Precisely. They think, I feel calm, so I shouldn't get involved in messy spots. But poker requires calculated aggression. You need to make those thin value bets, those well-timed bluffs, those light 3 bets. Those are often uncomfortable but mathematically profitable plays.
If your mindfulness makes you shy away from those, you're leaving money on the table.
Huge amounts of expected value, yes. You start deviating from optimal balanced strategies like GTO because you're playing too timidly. You become predictable and easy to exploit. Calmness isn't the same as weakness.
Got it. Aggression is still key. What's the third pitfall?
This one sounds basic, but it's easily overlooked. Ignoring physical needs. No amount of Zen focus can compensate for being utterly exhausted, dehydrated, or running on fumes because you haven't eaten.
You can't meditate your way out of needing sleep.
Exactly. Your brain is a physical organ. It needs fuel, water, and rest to function optimally. If you neglect your body, your mental game will collapse no matter how much you practice mindfulness. Schedule breaks, hydrate, eat something light. It's foundational.
Okay, so avoid overthinking, avoid passivity, and take care of yourself physically. Now let's bring it all together. How does having this solid, mindful foundation actually boost the core strategic parts of poker? Like, how does it help with things like game theory optimal play or bankroll management?
It acts like the ultimate enforcer for good strategy. Take GTO strategies. Playing GTO requires sticking to specific frequencies for bluffing, calling, folding, regardless of how you feel or what just happened.
Right, it's purely mathematical.
And what's the first thing to go out the window when a player tilts? Those balanced frequencies. They start bluffing way too much or calling way too wide or never bluffing at all. They become incredibly unbalanced and exploitable.
So mindfulness helps you stick to the plan, even when it feels weird or painful short term.
Exactly. It provides the emotional stability needed to execute the mathematically correct play over and over, resisting the urge to deviate based on gut feelings or recent results. It's the discipline mechanism.
And does it help with other complex stuff, like figuring out opponent ranges?
Immensely. Hand range analysis takes serious cognitive effort. You have to hold a lot of possibilities in your head. A calm, clear, mindful mind can do that complex calculation without getting overwhelmed or taking shortcuts.
Prevents those snap decisions based on incomplete information.
Precisely. You can calmly work through the possibilities. And this obviously applies directly to bankroll management, too. Mindfulness helps you stick to your predetermined limits, avoid emotionally driven bets, and resist the urge to chase losses. It protects your capital, which is crucial for staying in the game long term.
Okay, this makes a lot of sense. For listeners who are thinking, right, I want to develop this, what are some concrete resources, tools, maybe apps or content?
Yeah, definitely. First, you need to train the basic mental muscle. General meditation apps like Headspace or Calm are great for building that baseline focus and emotional awareness through daily practice, just 5–10 minutes a day.
Start general, then get specific.
Right. Then, for the poker-specific application, you need feedback. This is where poker tracking software like Poker Tracker or Hold'em Manager becomes invaluable.
Wait, tracking software as a mindfulness tool, how does that work?
Think about it. These tools give you cold, hard, objective data on your actual play. Your win rates, your stats, your leaks. They force you to confront the reality of your results.
Instead of just relying on how you feel you're doing.
Exactly. Our emotional memory is incredibly biased. We remember the bad beats more than the lucky wins, or vice versa. The data cuts through that narrative. It grounds you in empirical reality. Am I actually running bad, or am I tilting and playing poorly in these spots? The data often tells the truth. It's a form of data-driven mindfulness.
That's a fascinating way to look at it. Any other resources?
Yeah, there are podcasts like the Mindful Minute that offer quick, actionable tips on presence. And many poker training sites and channels, like Run It Once, frequently integrate discussions about the mental game alongside high-level strategy. They recognize how linked they are.
So wrapping this all up, the big takeaway seems pretty clear. Mindfulness isn't some, fluffy add-on for poker players.
Not at all.
It's a serious, practical tool, a game changer, really. It sharpens your focus, improves your decision-making under pressure, and gives you that crucial emotional control needed to perform consistently at a high level. It's a genuine competitive edge.
It really is.
Yeah.
And maybe a final thought to connect it all. If you think about the ultimate goal of advanced poker strategy, like striving for perfectly balanced, unexploitable GTO play,
Yeah.
in a way, that whole pursuit is an external manifestation of mindfulness. It's about forcing yourself, through rigorous logic and discipline, to stay grounded in mathematical reality, to resist the constant temptation to deviate based on the emotional noise of the moment. GTO itself is a kind of strategic mindfulness.
Wow, grounding strategy in mathematical reality instead of emotional weather. I like that. That leaves us with a great challenge then, for everyone listening.
Yep.
The next time you feel that pressure mounting, maybe it is at the poker table, maybe it's in a work meeting, maybe just stuck in traffic. Try that simple tactical reset we talked about.
The 4-4-4.
Yeah, inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4. Just see how that tiny moment of quiet presence doesn't just maybe make you feel a bit better, but how it might actually change the dynamics, change the strategy of whatever game you're playing.